Log recording. It's 12:33 p.m. It is February 10th, 2023. We were John C. Roseman, California. Yeah. It's hurts like hell when I start thinking about the past, especially when I'm going through pictures of what used to be and what had been and places I remembered going through. I'm feeling more and more nostalgic and depressed at the same damn time that I'm not quite sure if I'm ready for a trip going back to the San Fernando Valley just to see the old place. I'm not quite sure if I'm really keen on this because I'm looking at it through memories of kid and also through memories of an adult. Looking at the map of today and seeing pictures of how things have changed. Storefronts gone forever. Places where apartments are or destroyed because of new businesses. Landmarks gone left and right, and not to mention the atmosphere of the whole place has changed a great deal. I had talked about in other logs about how my brother and I had did our last tour of the San Fernando Valley. It would have had been in a car, but also after that it was just in a bus ride to see an old friend before she passed away, an old surrogate mother of ours. But prior to that, when we actually had transportation, we actually drove through the valley in different areas. I'd seen the changes. My brother had seen the changes. We had seen places that we used to grow up under, and you know what the weirdest part was in one particular visit that we had in the valley was going over to an apartment complex we used to live in and seeing how everything was supposed to be the same, but it was all changed. What used to have a swimming pool was a mini park in it. The apartment that we had stayed in the bottom. I remember we had a conversation with the neighbors on that one. They were not exactly accommodating, but we had shared stories at the door and then we left. We remembered the neighbors we used to play around with and had friends and barbecues and remembered the 71 earthquake and how that place looked and how the neighbor looked. Actually, how the neighborhood actually really looked. And different areas that we would travel through, including along Victory Lane, Victory Boulevard, and how places had uprooted. All the low income apartments, the government housings, uprooted for other buildings. We used to have a movie theater, shopping center, stayed there for decades now. Well, it used to be a community hospitals, a community center of sorts, and other office buildings used to have medical, different different places. Or shopping centers we used to go to try to keep the same buildings or actually reconfigure the buildings, and the stores are no longer there. They're evaporated. We no longer track them. The people we used to know gone. Eateries, different places to find food, changed either ownerships or practically disappeared off the map. Chain restaurants had moved off for a long while we were in the San Fernando Valley. Pizza Hut restaurants, when they were restaurants, you go in, you sit down, you enjoyed the meal, you enjoyed the music, you enjoyed little video games. You had fun. Just pick up the damn place and pick up your food and get the hell out of here. I'd seen streets that on old photographs compared to what new photographs look like. To compare from then to now. The Valley Relics Group out in near Van Nuys Airport area is a treasure trove of photographs and memorabilias that are being collected all over the place. Where stores are dying off, they have to have something they want to collect and put into this museum of different places we used people who lived there for a long time can remember. The Pup and Tacos that used to litter the area. There was one on Van Owen and Coldwater. Get a snack, get an entire meal. Get chili dogs, chili fries, and tacos. And a drink. Get a lemonade, Coke, root beer. Catty corner will be Wincho Donuts. Either you stop by at the donut and get your donut store and get your fill before you got into school. It's close by to Madison Junior High because right behind the shopping area was Madison. The BE field. High fence. Hell of a thing to climb up and down, I'll tell you that much. Scary as hell. Remember that there was an old Goodwill box, a collection of old clothing just tossed in there. I kept wondering if Goodwill ever actually collected anything over there. At one time, the box got burned down. Yeah. Going up the street of on East Route on Van Owen towards Laurel Canyon, past Whitsett. Just before Whitsett, there was another street. I think Babcock. There was a Cub Scout meeting area for a local den. Pack 152, Den 2. Newcomers coming into the Cub Scouts. The Bobcats turn into wolves. There'd be another place somewhere close by that would have the older kids, the bears, before it turned to Webelos, and then turn into the full Boy Scout. I never did do the full Boy Scout. Almost came close to Webelos, but never did it. Just moved out when I was a bear. 76. Learned skills. I remember running into one of the dead mothers. I remember her face, but I can't remember her name anymore. I remember she moved out to Arleta. They didn't have any more Cub Scouts out there. There wasn't any call for any Cub Scouts in the eastern end of the San Fernando Valley. Kind of sucked. Just don't want it to continue it. But I remember Ma meeting her, and we were talking. And I missed it. Different areas that I used to live in, shopping centers, as I said before, changed a great deal. Changed company's hands, changed the building slightly, but still there. Sucks when you get older that all the memories of the older stuff is still stuck in the head. You try to talk about them as if they're the good old days, and you want things to continue. I kept saying to myself, if I could have just a little piece of eternity in heaven, I'd be stuck in the San Fernando Valley for all eternity. Because I was home. That was what I remembered. Walking up and down the damn streets, or taking a bus ride, or a bike, a car ride into different areas. Because it was home. It was home that I lived in and home that I existed. Some things were rotten, but other things were still there. It's like for the past couple of days, I've had the flare ups kicking my ass left and right regarding the grieving in the morning, and then the depression kicks in. And I was looking through the Facebook pages a short time ago. I was going through the Valley Relics area. I was trying to avoid the grieving pages as much as possible because I really didn't want to get any more flare ups. Still wanted to salvage my sanity as much as I could. And the problem is, I'm still feeling the depression and longing to go back to the times of old. But knowing that if I happen to take a physical trip over back to the valley itself, and I still call it the valley because I don't consider the Antelope Valley the valley. I consider the San Fernando Valley the valley because that's how we know. That's how we called ourselves. This was home. This was home, and that's where I had my family. At times when I had my family growing up, and Dave and I are going on outings left and right. We go on little things for Mama left and right. When she was doing a bookkeeping income tax service going on, we'd go to clients left and right all around, maybe a little bit beyond that. But we were traveling. And I was just watching and looking at landmarks left and right, looking at how places had changed a lot. Some areas we never got into, some areas we avoided like the plague. We heard about reputations, we heard about what neighborhoods seemed to be the rotten and worst ones, and then we have a friend of ours, or we had a family of ours that moved into areas like that because they were the low income. And then we found out they weren't all that bad. Yeah, there were some instances where there was trouble left and right in certain schools, but or in the areas, but compare that to everybody everywhere else I kept looking at, I'm like, wasn't all that bad. It's easy enough to make the claims of wanting to go back. Because in a way we want to go back to where we were mentally and physically as we remembered them. But as an older person going through that kind of situation, and not realize that we're seeing the changes happening right in front of our eyes, and didn't realize the significance of it. The significance of having places changed on us a great deal. My brother and I felt out of place while we were driving in the valley for the last time when our car was actually working at the time. Where we're seeing different areas change heroically. Sub shops we used to frequent up in Granada Hills gone forever. New construction. Baseball batting cage gone. We used to be movie theaters, turned into different stores, gone. Everything gone. We go through areas of Granada Hills that we used to drive through up and back. Chatsworth, Mission, Rinaldi, Devonshire. The streets may sound familiar, but I tell you, without the landmarks, it just didn't make sense anymore. A few stores remained back then. I don't know if they're gone now or not. And it hurts like hell because those places I used to frequent a great deal. On Devonshire and Balboa, there was a comic shop called Continental Comics. I missed the place. I used to work in that area for a few years, and I made friends with the workers over there. and the comics we would talk about, and the things I would collect over there. Or even when there was Walden Books and Crown Books still operating, I'd make myself a nuisance. It was hard as hell to see that change. A pizza restaurant gone forever. Probably the last of it's still up in Ventura County, I think. The Pizza Cookery. Wonderful garlic rolls. Pizza wasn't bad either. We'd get pizza on some days over at Circuit City when the store chain was still working there. And the store was over on Devonshire and Balboa, now a church for decades. Warehouse was out. Go in the store, look at your albums, look at your tapes. Get a mixtape if you need to. J.C. Penney's was there. Need a new outfit? Fine. Carl's Jr. IHOP restaurant. I think it's still out there. Not bad food. AM PM on the corner. Fire station right next to AM PM down the street of Balboa. Now it's at a different location altogether. Now they got over the past 30 or almost 40. They got still In and Out and McDonald's in the area there. Of course, they did have McDonald's up on Devonshire and Balboa, close by, and before '94 earthquake kicked in, we actually had a working hospital out there and doctors' offices. Now we still got doctors' office, but we got a high school over there. Next was '94 quake to destroy a hospital and Kaiser buildings over there. Shit. And Video Arcade disappeared altogether, gone out of business. Family Fun Arcade. Oh God, that was a hangout right there. That was a place to go when you were a kid. Oh, as long as you had the quarters to feed the machines, it was a place. That's the only thing I could tell you was. Oh, right next to the car wash was this hot dog joint. If I got sick and tired of McDonald's, I go to the hot dog joint. When I was working out there at Circuit City back in the 80s. There's a lot of places out there I could tell stories about what I remembered. How you used to have the schedules, a great deal of them. When we actually had the Rapid Transit District switched over to the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. Some of their drivers carried over from RTD to the MTA and then retired afterwards. I had to memorize a lot of schedules and a lot of routes to get throughout that valley. If I didn't have car transportation, I'd have bus transportation. That was cool. That was cool. You go to the Van Nuys Airport. These days, a lot of changes have happened. The bungalows that you saw, the Quonset huts gone. Buildings now there. Used to have a military presence. 4 or 5 decades gone now. 4 decades. California Air National Guard was over there. 146 and 147 squadrons. Communication and transportation. 94th Aero Squadron. I don't know if it's still over there or not, but pretty good food. Pricey as hell, but decent enough food. Catering and mess like not so much, but the regular food, yeah, it was outstanding. I can remember all these things as a kid growing up, teenager to adult. Dave and I are going through some of the areas. We even saw some restaurants changed management, but they still kept the name. There was one Mexican restaurant on Mason and no, Corbin and Van Owen. Sabroso's. But there was also the stir fry place, Mongolian barbecue. Different rules, different things changed over to Mongolian barbecue. Used to go in there and be able to get certain types of uh, food going on. You order it either a la carte or order out one way or another. But you pack this stuff up in these bowls left and right. I mean, really, really, really pack. Because you know you aren't going to get that much. And besides, they give you some rice to put extra with it, and you have your soy sauce with it. Now, if you're eating inside, you can actually take the food out, but that's where we really had to pack the food in. But if you're going to be doing an a la carte, well, then you had to pack it less. Rules they had concerning about how to pack your food. Sabrosa's we got in there to have Mexican food. There used to be a restaurant that we used to go to all the time for Mexican. Well, and it was still there and operating, and it still had the food best in town. We thought it was a place called Ernie's, but then there was another place called Rusty's Hacienda, both on Lancashire. Rusty's used to be well above Van Owen, I think. Well, between Van Owen and Victory. Small hole in the wall, had Mexican cantina band, mariachi music all the time. They had these tapestries all over the place, paintings. Made you feel like you actually were in Mexico of the old days. And the food was outstanding during that time. Ernie's tried to be the same way, but man, it turned into a modernized restaurant a bit. They tried to keep the Mexican flair, but not much. But the food was okay. More pork in Lancashire, I think. Catty corner from a Catholic church. Right next to the freeway of the Ventura there. That church I remember because a friend of the mother I was telling you about, she had lost a child, had to bury, had the services for him. It was hard as hell. It was hard as hell to deal with. Church on Lancashire or close Tahunga, and close to Moore Park area, right by the Hollywood Freeway. I don't know what the fuck's going on. Something's beeping. Yeah, had to be my computer here. So, just going to take this damn thing off. But no, what I was trying to talk about. First United Methodist Church in North Hollywood. Hell, when you're on the Hollywood Freeway and you're passing up and down, getting past the Ventura interchange, you'd see this on the west side, actually on the east side of the freeway. Gold top with a tower on it, across. Brick building had been there for over 120 or 30 years. Watching this place go through changes left and right. They changed into beyond the normal preschool teaching into a little bit of a private school of sorts, teach neighborhood kids. But they had to convert a lot of their old buildings, their old rooms, into schoolrooms. What it used to be 2 or 3 social halls, we just got stuck with one. But everything else got changed into community learning. Lockers all over the place. It just changed the entire place. I mean, Sundays could be acting as a church, and the rest of the days was a school. Boy, a lot of changes. Fountain that works properly now. I remember for 30 or 40 years the damn thing didn't work. I finally got the damn thing fixed. Actually, I had the money for it. I had to change the plumbing around left and right and put in a new fountain, new fixtures. So I remember things like this. Hospital used to be on the Riverside and past Woodman. Riverside Community, they called it, a big, huge hospital. It's where I broke my It's where they had set my elbow after I got the damn thing broken. Accident on Fulton and Van Owen, 6 or 7 years old. Jesus, it hurt like a son of a bitch. I think it was closer to Fulton. Yeah, it was closer to Fulton. I remember one of my old doctors had moved an office from Van Owen and Coldwater area. Actually, between, no, close to Coldwater and Victory, actually. Then he moved it over to directly across the street from the hospital. Oh, God, what a pain in the ass that was. To be reminded of how my elbow was doing these days by going over to the doctor's office all the damn time, dealing with old Stopek and his crackety ass. I have to thank him for saving my ass, but I also blame him for everything else. I have to. I'm sorry I'm on a nostalgic kick here. Just going through the memories and living them through my own eyes. My memories of how I used to go through the streets with my brother, also on buses and other transportations. It was just, I don't know what the hell was going on, to tell you the truth. I just couldn't deal with it anymore. Sometimes I'm not quite so sure how I'm dealing with it these days. I mean, I don't. I feel like I'm perpetually stuck in this situation. When I get in these kind of remembrance modes of mine, of thinking and of talking about places I used to go to, of how I was trying to make the valley a little bit more alive, and that there used to be times before I remembered of cruise night on. It used to be Wednesday nights, middle of the week, Van Nuys Boulevard. It turned into be cruising. Going to be on a Friday or Saturday, Sunday? Oh hell no! It had to be on a Wednesday. I mean, you go up to a certain point on Van Nuys Boulevard and you cruise the entire block. I mean, all the way down the street towards Ventura, turn around and come right back. There used to be different hangout joints. People hang out at Farrell's. People would hang out over at Arby's. They would hang out at different restaurants up and down the area. Cops would have a hard time between Sherman Way and all the way to Oxnard or further down because there was a lot of activity both on street, walking, actually in the streets with the cars going slowly up and down. Just doing the. This was cruising. This was Wednesday night. My brother and I did it a few times. I don't even know why the hell I was doing that in the first place. But, you had a car. You cruised it. You want to make sure the damn thing looked good for cruise night. Different parking lots would be full of the cruisers. People talking, checking out the damn cars left and right, checking out the girls left and right, checking everything else left and right. Movie theaters would be going crazy on Wednesday night. Hardly anybody had stood right by Van Nuys area, especially when we're talking about the Van Nuys Civic Center. No, because that's where you had a division out there just waiting. Nobody liked hanging around by that area anyway. If we're talking about Laurel Canyon, past Victory, Valley Village. I missed that place. Earl's Toy Stores. Uh, yeah, the May Company building. Then Rob May. Then turned it into something else. Now it's gone completely forever. And in this particular building, we had May Company. We had your fine jewelry. We had your fine clothing. We had people shopping in there all the time. We had a mall there that was for the mall rats. Like every other mall that we've had up and down, disappearing left and right in the whole San Fernando Valley now. Gone, history. Or else mutated into something else that you don't even remember what the hell the damn thing was. Unless if you lived there long enough and you remember it as a kid. Maybe if you're born in the early 60s and went to the malls in the 70s and 80s, you'd see how things had changed. And then compared after the 94 earthquake, changed everything else completely. And then economics and everything else took away nearly anything and everything that what mattered a great deal about that place, about those places. In the 80s, you were a mall rat. Or actually, late 70s to 80s, you're a mall rat. The 90s are damn near a mall rat. I remember kids playing around or eating foods in the different malls, would shop, would go to the arcades. Sometimes maybe have a fight or two outside. You even seen the adults have a fight over the damn parking structures or parking spaces. Miniature golf was hot. All gone now. Except for Castle Golfland still stay there and still managed by the Department of Water and Power or City of Los Angeles anyway. An official city amusement park. Right by the 405 freeway, Sepulveda. Transferring from the Ventura to the 405, you'd see it on your right hand side. You're on Sepulveda Boulevard, you're getting close to, where the hell was it at? Let's see. National Guard Place. Oh, yeah, and LA Fire Department, too. Close by that area. Sandwiched between Moore Park and Oxnard. West side of the street. Still had about 3 golf courses, mini golf courses in there. They keep changing the computer games left and right and side. But it's just a place to hang out. Batting cages left and right. See, it's important for me to keep remembering these places because they matter the damn thing. Because I grew up in places like this. The valley was my home. Certain areas of the valley I had dealt with. I know what terror and fear was. I know what losing people was like left and right. I know what good food and good company and neighborhoods to live in. Of how things actually mattered a damn thing to me. A lot of things mattered. They did. And I just couldn't deal with it anymore, I guess, these days. I've seen too many changes. I've also seen the changes on the maps of what places look like now and even back then. I can't relate to the Antelope Valley because I didn't grow up out here. I used to, one time I took a trip out here to see a friend of mine after high school. Or I guess while I was in high school, anyway. Group was, well, this one friend of mine, this one woman. She's grandmother now. She's damn proud of it too. But she lived out here for a long while. This was her home. She fits the area. We hadn't spoken to each other for decades. It's not that much anyway. But when I had seen her in our youth, I'd seen the growth back then compared to now. Back then it was still trying to expand. Palmdale and Lancaster were still trying to grow. And I got myself lost. Now, since living out here, I'm still having an issue trying to deal with this. Living in Antelope Valley is just not as comforting as the old days were. But then again, I had to keep remembering I also had my family with me during that time. Ma and Dave. Dee. I hope that when I go back over to Antelope Valley College, I'm going to get some new pictures posted. Hopefully save as much as the old pictures as I can. Maybe get new pictures printed up, black and whites. Post them over here. Right now I call it a memory cabinet. I'm feeling too damn old these days. 57, you think I'd be young enough? Now when I started reflecting and thinking more that I should have been maybe gone a long time ago. I would hope that heaven would forgive me for indulging on memories like this, and if they actually showed me what my valley looked like once more, I think I'd be sorely tempted to stay. Probably a guy would ask me why. Because that's where my home, no heart was. I came out here with my family and I wasn't comfortable with all of it. It took me a while trying to get used to it, but I never was. My heart was still from the olden days that I grew up with, where I felt safety and security, where I felt like I was home. There's a certain mindset level somewhere that one feels. I can't go back in time, except through memories. And if I happen to take the train out there, the only stop they're going to be doing that I can actually get on a bus ride would be Burbank. I know they got Silver Station, but that's not it. No, mine would be Burbank, and then have to find routes. It'll take me through the neighborhoods that I used to live and work. Of course, there's an early morning commuter line I could probably take. It'll drive me through certain areas that I used to go through and live through. There's a commuter line that the Antelope Valley Transportation Authority actually has a few commuter lines. One going to Century City, one goes to downtown Los Angeles, and the other one goes through the San Fernando Valley. And for what the route was, it hadn't changed over the past 20 years, apparently, or 10 years, or longer than that, between that time. But it would take me through the 14 and the 5 interchange, and then the 5 through the 118, and then taking the 118 all the way until it hits the Reseda Boulevard. And then heading down Reseda Boulevard. I'll be passing by Rinaldi area, first off. We're getting close to that. I remember the development in the Porter Ranch area and in the Upper Granada Hills areas was developing not as they were right now, now with the major shopping centers we've had over the past 25 years, almost 30 years. I remember some of the areas had housing development still being created up in the hills. Parks were up there, and there was a few landings that you could actually oversee the San Fernando Valley at night, or even during the daytime. But nighttime was better because you could see the lights of everything. And the bus would head down to Reseda. I think maybe it would head down to Balboa first. I would have to check the schedules out for that one. But it was hitting streets after streets that I used to go on, including actually Reseda. Yeah, Reseda. Past Devonshire. Honey Bake Ham is still there unless they closed it down permanently and we have no other Honey Bakes to go through for deliveries. Shakey's Pizza Parlor, restaurant, McDonald's, several restaurants, car wash, banking area, Mexican restaurant. I'd seen there for a long while but changed after that. Used to have the Pepper Tree Theater, small independent theater that would do the second runs of first run movies. Tapestry was a teenage place to go to hang out. I remember that. Used to have Farrell's in the area, I think. I got a gym. Farrell's died out 30 or 40 years ago, but it was a place to visit. Past the fire station and power line areas. You get into the sections where they have bus stops for the CSUN area, CSUN campus. Reseda and, let's see, it was Reseda and Nordoff. Reseda Plummer. Oh, Plummer, then Nordoff. Yeah, Plummer and then Nordoff. Then you go down Plummer. I mean, hell, Reseda and Devonshire, yeah. And you see the last one, and then it was Reseda. You didn't quite go on Reseda and Nordoff. Not that area, or Devonshire for that matter. Plummer, yeah. Go to the office areas and head down Plummer. And then try to get over to the office areas all the way down to Warner Center, where I used to work. That would be, for 1 year, I took the bus from Palmdale all the way over to that area. It was the time when I was about to be moving out of the area, San Fernando Valley. Actually, I was taking that bus because I already had moved up until Palmdale. It was a hell of a trip. Almost a 2-hour snooze fest until I got over to the work. I tell you, there's been a lot of changes in the valley. Even there's bus changes and train changes in the area. Different manufacturing companies in business, out of business, move here, move there. Weeks ago, I had a friend of mine, a lifer of mine. He was the same guy that helped pay for David's cremation expenses, and I owe him a great deal on this. I'm in his debt on this. He was telling me about areas that he worked in, still does, and we were looking at maps. And he was telling me about this one particular bus stop, or actually train stop, that actually had seats there. And I had to look at the area. I'm looking at straight down at it, and it didn't even bother me. I mean, it was bothering me. I recognized it, but I didn't remember why I recognized it until I had to put myself through street level version, looking at the maps, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, I know this area!" I exclaimed it out loud. It was a company I used to work for photo research, right next to the railroad tracks. We didn't use the railroad. Well, it's just right by the railroad track, so we'd hear it coming through every single time. The freight trains, Union Pacific, would go right through it. Remember, there used to be a lamplighter in the area, and other places I used to, including in Northrop, Grumman area, Rockwell, manufacturing. But up the street, shopping centers. I was just working in the industrial section. See, remembering things like this as an adult back then to now is I feel older. I feel like I'm a living archive. I'm trying to tell people what things happened during that time. There was a company called Leslie Swimming Pool, had an office out there in the same area, and I worked there for about a summer doing office work. For about 3 or 4 months doing clerical. They needed help with the orders. They needed help with the processing of paperwork and filing and stuff. That's what I was there for. Just a seasonal temp job. So I can honestly say I worked for a pool company. Tried to develop a spreadsheet to help keep track of everything. I don't know if I ever worked for them or not after that. But it worked for me for a while. I know I'm feeling old about this one. I am. It puts me into a mental state, into a perspective of where do I go from here? I come out to the Antelope Valley with my family over a decade and a half ago. I've seen what it has to offer. Maybe a lot of kids have grown up in this kind of place still growing like crazy, but I was already in a well-established valley that's torn itself apart and still changing left and right that I don't even recognize it anymore. Hell, even one particular amusement park that they worked for has gone through so many damn changes I don't even recognize I want to go back over there again. How's that grab you? Universal Studios. Used to work there, and then I'd go through every once in a while. Actually, prior to that, I was going to places, going over there once in a while just to have fun over there. Sometimes with my brother, and most of the time with myself, by myself. And I worked there for about a season and a half. But then I give it about 2 decades later, go back over there to see the changes again, and was blown away by it. Trying to get documentation of it as much as I could, videos and pics. A couple of souvenirs left and right. Trying to feel part of it, you know. These days I don't know anymore. I mean, they're taking a lot of things that I used to take for granted. I thought I'd be there forever. Wasn't. They got newer changes, trying to keep up with the newer audiences and a newer taste for it. The problem was when you're living old enough, you want things back the way they were, simple. Because each generation wants their own thing going on, and it's hard as hell to deal with that. The new changes. We remember the changes of old because that's what we survived through. But the new changes coming up, for every new generation coming through, it's no wonder I'm starting to relate more and more with the older generations because I already crossed the line a long time ago. Too much.